Good morning, guys. My name is Jörgen Larsson, and this is my friend Dejan Milosevic. Today we're gonna try perch fishing in a small river that enters the sea on the east coast of Sweden. When the water starts to get cold in the autumn, the big perch migrates up into the river from the sea. They stay in the river all winter, and in the spring they spawn here before they go back into the sea. So the plan today is to try traditional jig fishing with soft baits and lead heads or jig heads, and see if we can get some of these big perch to bite. What's interesting with these perch living in the sea is that the average weight is quite high. I would hope at least that the average would be around 1 kilo. You can catch fish to 1.5 kilo, and even if you're really lucky you can have a 2 kilo dream fish here. Let's try and see if the perch is biting today. I started with Stanley the Stickleback in the color Lively Roach it's called. And I got a perch already in the first cast. It's not a big one, but it's a good start at least. Beautiful colors. When you're fishing Stanley, you will catch more small perch, because the lure is not so big. It's 7.5 centimeters, so you will catch more smaller fish also. But it's a very good lure to get them going. It's very intense in the swimming action, and even the big fish like it. So don't be afraid, even if you're catching small ones. The big ones will take it also.
I just had
It seems like we found the fish straight away here. We're fishing in an area where there's a lot of big rocks on the bottom, and just where it stops and it gets a little bit deeper, they normally like to park, you see. I had a fish in the first cast, and Dejan also has one.
Oh.
Oh, it's rubbish, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, fish again. A little bit bigger, maybe.
Yeah, it's a better one.
Not a big one, but a little bit bigger than the first one. The perch are normally crazy about Stanley the Stickleback if they are a little bit active. And it's a good lure to start fishing with, to see if they are feeding and are active. And even if you're catching small ones, don't be afraid to use it, because the bigger ones will take it also. A little bit bigger than the first one. Same beautiful colors, huh? Stanley. That's a good start. Yeah.
Stanley is hot.
Stanley is on fire.
On fire.
3 casts, 3 fish. It's a very good start to the morning.
Yeah, I mean. This could be a little bit better fish.
Strong one.
Yeah,
You need the net.
we'll see, maybe.
See if I can get my perch.
No, it's a pike. It's a small pike.
What about this one? They're getting bigger,
Nice.
slowly. What a start, huh? Third fish, third cast. This is around kilo size. Very beautiful fish. They really seem to like Stanley today. Fantastic fish. Look at the dorsal fin. They're so beautiful, these fish. It's really magnificent creatures. Gonna let her go now. Today we have rigged 2 rods each. Dejan has a light one, a street stick, 6'1", 2 to 7 gram. And on this light rod he's gonna fish the smaller soft lures like ShadTeez, the smallest ShadTeez, 7.5 centimeter,
Yeah.
Stickleback,
Ring
ring tees.
tees, yeah.
And this is basically if the perch are really fussy and don't want to take the traditional bigger shads. It's always good to have a rod where you can fish the smaller ones. And it's also very fun rod to fish with. It's super sensitive and so fun to fight a big perch
I
on
love
this
it.
rod.
I love it. It's really fun.
Then I have picked 2 rods from the W3 Finesse TNC range. The light one, 5 to 15 grams, 7'1", that I'm using for the smaller lures like Stanley, ShadTeez, ring tees, so on, with the 3 to 5 gram jig heads. If I want to fish heavier stuff, bigger lures, thicker hooks, I use the more powerful version of the TNC rod, W3 TNC 7 to 21 gram. This is basically for the bigger shads, like the 9 and 10 centimeter ShadTeez, and also when I'm fishing a jig head with an offset hook, to be able to really set the hook, I need a more powerful rod. There is some areas in this river where there's a lot of rocks and a lot of trees in the water, so this kind of jig heads with an offset hook can be handy in some areas. And then you might need a more powerful rod to be able to set the hooks. We are very lucky because Westin has an impressive range of soft lures that you can use for perch. And if you want to be successful when you're fishing for perch, you don't need just one lure, you need many lures. Pick 3 or 4 different lures with different silhouette, different size, and most of all different swimming action. And then you cover most situations. If you have a good shad, it might work many days, but you will always find days when it's not working, and then you need to have alternatives. So a couple of different soft lures with different action will help you when the fishing is slow and difficult. Most of the time you will be able to find some lure that they will take. If I could pick one soft lure that I had to use for the rest of my life, I would pick a 9 centimeter ShadTeez. This lure is absolutely fantastic when it comes to big perch. It has a swimming action that is very special. It moves a lot with the belly from side to side, and then the tail is swimming also. So it sends out a lot of signals in the water. And when the perch is in feeding mode, this shad is absolutely fantastic, and it has caught so many huge fish. But it doesn't mean that it always works. You will have days when you're not catching on this one, and then you need some alternatives. The new 10 centimeter ShadTeez is more slim in the body profile. It has the same movement as the 9 centimeter. It works with the body from side to side and the tail swimming, but it also wiggles a little bit in the water. So it has a slightly different swimming action, and some days they prefer this one before the 9 centimeter model. If they are really tricky, you might need a completely different lure. Then you have the ShadTeez, the 9 centimeter or the 7.5 centimeter. And then you have a lure with not so much movement. It only works slowly with the tail and not with the body. Same when it comes to Stanley the Stickleback. You have a very high frequent movement of the tail. So again a different movement, again a different swimming action. So normally you can find something that they will take. Then you have the ring tees, also a fantastic lure when the perch are a little bit tricky. You can fish it so slow and it's so extremely soft. So it's easy for the perch to get it into the mouth when they're taking very gentle. This is just some of the lures we have picked for today's use, and then we have to try and see what they like. There is the hollow tees, also a very different lure with a hollow body. makes the lure very soft and easy to bend. When they strike, it will bend and easily go into the mouth of the perch. It's also a real big fish lure. It has caught so many big fish. I know that it has been Dejan's favorite this year. You've caught a lot of big fish on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also a 2 kilo fish you caught on this one.
Yeah, I had one just over 2 kilo.
And many good sized fish between 1.5 and 2 kilo on the hollow teeth. So it's a real big fish lure also.
This is probably my first choice for big fish.
And if you have a wide range of different lures, you cover so many different situations when the perch is a little bit picky, when the perch is really feeding hard and so on. So it's always good to have a range of different lures in different colors. My basic technique when I'm fishing a soft lure with a jig head is quite simple actually. I just cast it out. Then I let it sink on a tight line. When I feel the bottom, I take 2 turns with the reel handle, stop and let it sink again, and when it hits the bottom, another 2 turns. So I'm not really working with a rod, I'm just working with a reel. And I can adjust the speed by turning fast or turning slow. I would say now I'll go for a medium speed. It's not really cold, the perch are biting, and seems that we can get away with quite a high speed or a medium speed. You always have to try the speed to see what the perch want. We do it again, see? Let the lure sink until you feel the slack when it hits the bottom. 2 or 3 turns with the reel, let it sink again. Slack. 2 or 3 turns. Slack. And a fish. I would say that 8 or 9 out of 10 takes will be when you stop winding and the lure sinks back to the bottom. That's when you need to be really focused and so you don't miss any bites. It's another little guy. Let him back. 100% of the time I have full contact with the lure. If I start working with a rod, you get slack and you lose some of that contact. There is times when you will catch more fish by adding more movement to the lure with the rod. But I would say most of the times I get away with my reel method and only using the reel. Snyggt, Dejan.
Yeah.
Congrats. Well done, guy.
Thank you.
Is it the biggest today, or? It's a good fish at least.
No, maybe not.
Same size as the other ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Around a kilo.
Yeah.
Very nice colors on that fish. Extremely beautiful. Beautiful fish.
The ShadTeez, 10 centimeters.
An old scar. Ah, they're so beautiful. Fantastic fish.
Yeah.
When I'm coming to a new water, it's the first problem is always to locate the fish. And a fish finder is always very useful to see the bottom structure. What is a general thing with perch, they love structures. So if you can find some areas with sunken trees, with a lot of rocks, things like that. It can be a drop-off. They like hard bottom. So if you can find spots like that, you will normally find a perch also. It can also be man-made structures, not natural structures, but man-made structures. For example, harbors is always interesting to check out. They love to hang around in the harbors, under boats, under bridges, around bridges, platforms, things like that. Can be a spot where there is a big tree has fallen into the water. It's always worth to investigate. And if you're fishing in rivers, you should always check out the current. If it's a very strong current and it's cold in the water, they will be in areas with slack water. The perch don't like to hang around in the strong current. They will find places where they can hide from the current. So it will be backwaters, areas where the water is a little bit more slack and so on. The place we're fishing now, we have a lot of big rocks here, and after the rocks it goes down and the river widens out a little bit, so they can get a lot of cover from the rocks, and behind the rocks they have a perfect area to hang around. And now we know this area well, so we know where to fish. But if you come to a new water, it's always very valuable to have a fish finder, so you can check around and try to find areas where the perch might hang around. Today we have a quite slow current in this river, so I think we will be able to find a perch just about anywhere, also in the middle of the river. But if you have a very strong current, you can often see that the perch are pushed into the sides where they can find more slack water. But today the current is quite slow, so I don't think the current is that important today. We don't have to consider that so much. I think we're gonna catch fish both close to the banks and also in the middle of the river. In general, I would go for as light jig heads as possible. Got a fish?
No.
Came off?
I lost it, yes.
In general, I would go for as light jig heads as possible, as long as I have good contact with my lure. Especially when it's cold in the water, it's important to fish as light as possible, so the lure will sink slow. In the summer I could very well fish with a heavier jig head than I need, because I want to add more speed to the lure. But when it's getting cold in the autumn and the winter and the spring, I would always go for as light jig head as I can get away with and still have a perfect contact with the lure. Seems like it's most smaller fish that's feeding so far, but we need to move around and see if we can find the bigger ones. We know they're here. Very beautiful colors. Bye bye. When I'm rigging a traditional jig, I just start with choosing the weight of the jig head and the size of the hook. Here is a 7.5 gram and a 4.0 hook. Then I lay the jig head beside the jig to see where will it come out from the body. I put my thumb there and I make a small mark with the hook point where I want the hook to come out later. Then I just like this. Make sure it's straight in both lines so you don't destroy the swimming action. 1.24 kilos. No monster, but definitely a beautiful fish. Nice end to a day like this. Took a ring tease curl tail. Very happy with this fish.
Yeah.
Perfect, there's no damage, nothing, it's just perfect fish. They don't get more beautiful than this. Absolutely magic. Bye bye. What do you think, Dejan? It's been quite we've caught quite a lot of fish. I mean, maybe 25, 30 perch, but still a difficult day.
Yeah, really difficult day.
A lot of small, gentle takes, and you can see on the average weight of the fish also, it's a lot of small fish, and then you can come another day and it's only big ones.
Yeah.
So it's not a good sign when you catch a lot of these smaller guys, but still it's been fun.
It's been fun. We have been working hard, and I mean we had a lot of strikes. So
a few nice ones.
Yeah. I'm happy.
It's been a good day.
Yeah.
Nice weather and quite a lot of fish anyway.
Yeah.
It's more of a challenge when they are a little bit difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, both you and me like this kind of fishing.
Yeah. I've enjoyed the day.
Me too.
Even if it's been difficult, so it's been a nice day on the water.